Have you ever passed by something which, even by accident, it was stored in the memory, such as a wound, the invisible, the feeling of being excluded, of not fitting in, even when you are there? You may not have realized at the time, but there are moments which mark more deeply, and, at times, to understand the weight of them for years to come. This is a common situation in a family, where the Rosino nervous and the conversation around to look innocent, but in fact, they carry the messages that you leave the marks visible. That is exactly what happened to me. It was there, surrounded by people who say they love me, and all of a sudden, I hear a comment that, at the time, it seemed like just a joke or a trick of the family, but there was a ringing in my head like a sentence that are silent. It does not fit in with the festivities. And then, at that moment, something inside of me turned around. You know that feeling? It's as if a door closes quietly, without anyone noticing, and then we stand there, trying to figure out why, even though they are in the same room together, there is always a distance from the unseen, which no one explains it. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. It is a story that reveals itself as a seemingly light it can hide deep pain. Such a simple comment, a laugh, or a phrase, misplaced, can turn each other into something that's painful, even traumatic. And this pain is often not recognized by those who are the cause or for those who watch from the outside. But it's there, and it's for real. And most importantly, she reveals something that will go beyond what it looks like. It's about belonging and rejection, and how many times have our own roots and can make you feel like foreigners in our own history. So be ready to think about it, because this is a story that can change your perspective on what it means to be a part of a family group. And who knows, will help you to better understand your brand and invisible that we have, and that too often, we don't really know what we are shaping it so much. If you can identify with that feeling of trying to find her place in the world, do you know how hard it is sometimes to feel truly accepted, even when you're surrounded by people? The beauty of this journey is just to find out that this, though quiet, often lonely, it is also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. You may have passed by the time he felt a stranger in his own story, and I want you to know that this feeling, then you are not alone. Share your experiences here in the comments. It may help someone else who is also going through this to feel a little more understood and accepted. Your feedback and experience to have the strength to make this a community where we learn to appreciate our roots are the more complex and confusing it can be. And if that kind of content, it makes sense to you, don't leave like to the video. Your support is critical to allow more people to have access to such considerations. If you wish to continue with a story like this, please subscribe to the channel. This is the best way to strengthen the exchange of sympathy and hope. After all, every comment, every like, it is a seed and helps spread this message. In essence, all we seek is a place where you feel truly at home. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation, is often hidden behind layers of doubt and limiting beliefs that we have as a child. We grow by hearing the success it's a matter of luck, and you are certain the doors are only open up to very few, and that, in essence, we are not worthy of the one life in all its fullness. These messages often occur spontaneously, will be rooted in our subconscious mind to shape our choices and our dreams, and even our sense of value. Along the way, as it seems to be a simple question, or a feeling of insecurity in a given moment, in fact, it is a connection to what we call truth is hidden, is the one that most would prefer not to look at it from the front. When we first started to explore the internal layers, we realized that many of our limitations does not come from external factors, but from a narrative acceitavamos as the absolute truth. It's like we're trapped in a story that has been told, and I only managed to see the script when we step away from the role that has been given to us for a long time. From then on, the journey of self-discovery becomes a process of breaking down these old scripts, the questioning each and every decision that you seem to control, and, above all, write a new narrative on the basis of our true selves. And it is precisely at this point that the transformation to begin to happen in a more concrete way. When we look at our own behind the scenes, the things that once seemed daunting or negligible gains to the next level. We find that the strength that we seek out in the passage, or the recognition of others, in fact, it is within each of us waiting to be awakened. That's the big revelation, is that many people don't have the courage to accept that the power switch is in on the decision to look within, to confront their own truths, and thus, to create a real impact in your life. Every decision we make, even the younger ones, they are like the seed planted in the soil of our subconscious mind. And then, just as a plant is in need of care, attention, and patience, to our way of thinking needs to be grown with new habits, new ways of thinking. That's what the concept of transformation. It is not a one-off event, but an ongoing process of development for the improvement of those who are in the know. And the more we go deeper in the understanding, the more we realize that in the limit of many times, it is a narrative of the old, a story that you can rewrite it at any time. When you think about these behind the scenes unseen, we have begun to understand that true freedom comes from understanding who we are, to be free from masks and expectations of external stakeholders. And this freedom in turn creates an impact on our lives in the ways that it is not always possible to anticipate. It influences the choices we make, our relationship, how we think about obstacles, and above all, how we feel about our own universe. Because after all, the greatest journey is the one that we are going through true with our own personal truth, what we really doesn't matter. And it is at this point that the universe conspires to please, when we align our actions to that which is most real to us. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that, to understand the origin of the limiting belief that is only the first step. Then comes the most challenging part, is to act in a conscious way, to change that narrative. And this transformation requires courage, because a lot of times it leads us to face what we fear to admit it. This is where many people discover that the greatest impact comes from the small daily changes. The choices seem to be simple, but that, at the bottom, they represent a revolution on the inside. Some of these decisions may seem insignificant at first glance. How to change a sentence in the negative by a positive, or you can choose a moment of your day for yourself, to reflect, to be thankful for. However, these actions are accumulated to create a flow of power that can break up old patterns and open up to new possibilities. From this understanding, we realize that the truth is hidden in the limit of many times that it is a lie, that we tell ourselves a story that repeats itself in the silence of the mind. And, to debunk that lie, we have gained the freedom to create a new version of us, is aligned with our deepest desires. This new narrative has the power to impact not only our lives, but it is also inspiring to the people around us, as the true transformation is never an isolated act. It is a chain that has been spreading, and that he has been, and it raises the hope that anything is possible when you decide to look into it. And so, to understand these scenes, not seen, we can begin to build a mindset that is stronger, more resilient, and capable of facing any challenge with the attitude of someone who knows you in control of one's own history is in your hands. Because in the back, the big revelation is that we are the authors of our own journey, and that every decision, every thought, every action is an opportunity to rewrite the next chapter. And in the process, which seemed to be impossible to get into a new reality, in which the authenticity and the courage to go hand in hand, leading him to a state of completion. And in the meantime, the universe is still plotting for the sake of those who, with courage and determination, and they decide to take this journey of self-discovery and transformation. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this subject, for it is precisely at this point that a lot of people are starting to realize something that is often hidden from the bustle of your day-to-day. The true essence of transformation is not only in the external actions or achievements to be visible, but above all, the change in its internal structure, which occurs silently, almost in a whisper of the truth to hide it. It is as if, in the course of the journey, we begin to see beyond the surface, not realizing that it's really impacting our lives aren't just in the event that it happens, but above all, the decisions that we make in front of them, and the way that we read each and every one of those experiences. The beauty of this discovery is the realization that we are the authors of our own story, but at the same time, we are also the protagonists of the script, which was often written with patterns, limiting beliefs, and conditionings that have built up over the years. Of these factors, all of which often operate at a subconscious, they serve as a sort of behind the scenes and invisible to shape our own answers, our own emotions, our own choices, even when we think we're in control. And this is where comes the importance of open-mindedness. A closer look at the smaller of the revelations, which appear in daily life, it is often disguised as obstacle and failures, but, in fact, are the seed of transformation. When you immerse yourself in the universe of possibilities, we find that the change is about having the courage to face these truths, built in, for a more unpleasant than it may seem. After all, a lot of times, the things that prevent us from moving forward is the resistance that is created by the nodes themselves, as a kind of self-sabotage, that which is born of the fear of leaving behind what we know, even if we do bad things. In this sense, it's a journey of self-discovery. It is, in fact, a day of its release. Every decision you make in that way, it is like a piece of that fits in the construction of a new narrative, a narrative founded on authenticity, courage, and the willingness to continue to evolve. And when you start to see these behind the scenes to internal, it all gets a whole new dimension. Every choice, every step we take, it will be an opportunity to reaffirm who we are in addition to the masks, in addition to the views outside. It is as if, to unravel the truth hidden, it opened a door to a more dramatic impact, not only in our own lives, but also those around us and the impact that our actions have on the world. In the end, the transformation is not a standalone act. It echoes, influence, connect, and create a chain of changes that are beyond the individual. From this point of view, the journey of change, it becomes a real eye-opener behind the scenes, where the decisions of the most simple hold a great potential for impact. Each and every moment of introspection, with each reflection, sincere, our actions and emotions, and acts as a key that unlocks a new understanding of the self. And in so doing, we can begin to understand that authenticity is not only on the choice of the surface, but is in a state of alignment with inner truth, which manifests itself in the way we interact with the world and with our own feelings and emotions. For this reason, the transformation requires more than desire. It requires an attentive listening to what is behind the words, the gestures, and actions. You have to learn to read the signals the universe sends us, often under the guise of small signals or words that are, in fact, calls for a more radical change. When we first started to notice this detail to a new world of understanding, if you open it up, and we are aware of the fact that each and every step, however small they may seem to you, it's part of a larger journey of self-expression and evolution. And on that walk, the truth hidden is revealed slowly, bringing to the surface what was always there, just waiting for the courage to be seen and accepted. And so, to deepen this understanding, we see that the real transformation is not a destination, but a continuous journey of discovery, where every decision is an invitation to explore even more of the behind the scenes of our own. With each revelation, each and every insight strengthens one of our mentality, that we have been able to create a new reality, one that is in alignment with our deepest values, and our truth is the most genuine. And in the meantime, the universe, and with her the wisdom to be silent, still plotting for the sake of those who have the courage to look within, unlocking the mysteries which until now seem to be hidden in the shadows of the unconscious mind. He comments that, "I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is exactly the essence of this knowledge, that we have found the key to a really transform your life. Real change doesn't just happen on the surface, and when we try to force it to a new routine, or a move towards a more positive outlook for a while, but in the depths of our being, in our way of thinking, and a more intimate, where the deeply held beliefs of residence. It is the impact of the silent, which over time, it can reprogram our mind, our emotions, and therefore our actions. And it is this reprogramming requires constant attention, a willingness to confront the hidden truths, often uncomfortable or that we do not perceive. Because in fact, many of our limitations are not imposed by the external world, but rather because of what we believe to be possible or impossible it is for us. These beliefs shape our perception of reality. They influence our daily decisions, and a lot of times, the sabotage of the most important steps in the direction of our own transformation. When you begin to unravel these hidden truths, we find that the biggest barrier is within us, in our minds, and that true freedom is only achieved when you free yourself from these shackles will not be seen. It is a process of liberation, a journey of self-discovery that reveals the behind the scenes of our unconscious, where we will stay stuck for the trials, fears, and expectations, which in most cases don't even ask. And in the process of this movement is to look within. We can begin to understand that a lot of our decision-making, they seem to be random or impulsive, but in fact they are a reflection of an internal narrative that we've learned to accept it as a fact. This is where the transformation starts to gain momentum, because we question everything that has been imposed on it as the absolute truth. We have entered the phase of the deconstruction of the review. Rewrite our history on the basis of a new understanding, more in tune with who you really are, the you want to create. This is a journey of discovery. It is also equally clear that the impact of the choices we make is a lot bigger than we imagined, because every decision you make echoes in our own realities in a way that a lot of times we are not able to realize it right away, but over time, shape our own destiny. To deepen our reflection, we realize that the universe conspires to help those who have the courage to face the truth that is hidden, that you are not afraid to look at his own shadow and to turn what seemed to be insurmountable. It is in the process of self-transformation which we have found the true strength, and that which is born of the recognition that we are all responsible for our history, but we are also the only ones able to rewrite it. This understanding gives us the power to renewed confidence that it is not dependent on external factors, but it's certainly built for that. We've got everything you need to create a new reality. And, even in the face of an obstacle or difficulty, this is a new mentality in the stand. It is because we understand that every challenge is an opportunity for growth, a chance to strengthen our way of development. In this connection, a more in-depth at the core, also tells us that we are not alone in this journey. A look behind the scenes of our minds are filled with clues, signs, which if we are able to see on the lead to valuable insights. In these moments of revelation, to work as indoor maps, we guide you in the direction of our true essence, our authenticity, and pure. And once you understand that change happens from the inside to the outside, we see the impact we can have on the world is a direct consequence of this change on the inside. With each step taken in this direction, it is a statement of what we are capable of creating a new story, to write a story that reflects our deepest values, and that it is in alignment with our most authentic. And so, as we continue exploring more of these behind the scenes to internal, we have found a source of never-ending possibilities. Each and every insight, every revelation, it works like a piece of a puzzle that fit together to reveal a larger picture of the potential. We understand that this is a journey of self-discovery that is not linear, but is full of nuances, moments of doubt, of a flash of clarity that drive us to move forward. And at the same time, we find that the impact of this event is the only external change, but the transformation of our way of seeing the world, not only in our ability to make decisions with my life and to act with more purpose. It is a transformation that permeates every aspect of our lives, opening the door for a chance to be there seemed to be unavailable, and connecting us with the truth that has always been within us, just waiting for the courage to be discovered. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of the transformation did not happen all at one time or another. In fact, it is a journey full of discoveries and quiet moments of reflection, and a lot of times, the internal resistance. It is at this point that you realize just how much of our decisions are shaping this shift, many times without our realization. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it works like a critical piece in the puzzle of self-discovery, and much more. The truth hides behind all that is that a true transformation requires courage, continuing a provision to a daily look at its own limitations, and allow it to evolve even when everything around you seems to point in the opposite direction. When we start to understand that this journey is more about what goes on internally and the external environment, everything takes on a new meaning. No point in trying to change the world before we change our mindset. And this is a change of mindset is often accompanied with the revelations that challenge our comfort zone. These are the moments of paradigm shift, which, in spite of the difficult, is essential in order for us to be able to actually get rid of old, limiting beliefs. It's like opening a door, which was shut down for years to come, with a door that holds the key to inner freedom. Often they do not know it exists. In the process, behind the scenes of our mind and reveals the secrets, who, when brought into the light, and you have the capacity to impact on the whole of our perception of reality. Discover those hidden truths. This is how to unlock the script to recognize that has always guided our actions, our thoughts, and our emotions. And in doing so, we begin to see that so many of our reactions and our fears, and even our frustrations, are rooted in the stories that we have from early childhood experiences, which we think is insignificant, but which in fact help to shape our view of the world. It is at this point that we realize that true change begins from the inside to the outside. And as we move forward in this journey of self-discovery, we realize that the impact of such a transformation is not just about us. It echoes in a way almost invisible in the lives of those around us. A change in the mindset of, for example, you might inspire someone to question their own beliefs or to search for a new direction. In this chain, the impact is like a tidal wave silent that is spread, touching the lives that you might not imagine. And it is for this reason that the search for the transformation that is as powerful as it is. It's not only natural, but also has the potential to open the door to connecting more fully with the world and the people around us. As we go further in the realm of possibilities, we realize that a lot of our daily actions, they carry a burden of meaning that is often overlooked. Every decision we make, every thought that we have cultivated, it has the potential to bring about a new reality. And this fact in turn will influence the journey of growth. To understand this impact, it gives us a responsibility to be more important, the selection of conscience, and act in line with our values, and to cultivate a spirit of constant evolution. After all, it's the true transformation is not a destination, but a path of continual discovery, learning, and building it ourselves. Now, I want you to go even deeper on this topic because, with the understanding that our everyday decisions shape the journey is only just the beginning. There is a layer of even more subtle is the one that connects our actions to our deeper purpose, to our true nature. In this connection, it is a bridge to the invisible, which leads to an authenticity that many times we don't know. And to build on those racks built in, you start to realize that the transformation is not something that happens from the outside in, but from the inside to the outside, such as a light that begins to glow, slowly revealing who we really are and what they are here to do. It is during this process that we discovered the power of our own choices and the courage that is often not thought to have. To complete this discussion, I want to make a call. Silent. Be aware of how each and every step you take today, the influence of this journey of transformation. Every thought, every decision, every change of mentality, and build a new version of you, the more you align with your truth. And in essence, that's the biggest impact that we can generate a genuine connection to what we really are, in addition to the mask, as well as the stories that limit us. After all, it is the very essence of it is always there, waiting for the courage to be revealed to you. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't happen overnight. It is built with the small choices you have made from time to time. Every decision we make, however small it may seem, it is like a seed sown in the soil of our minds and in our hearts. When we learn to cultivate these thoughts out of awareness, we begin to notice that we can rewrite our history and the changing of the script, which seemed to be doomed. It is at this point that we understand that change is not a matter of luck or external circumstances, but above all, a matter of decision-making within, to align our minds with the things that you really want. And then comes a part that a lot of people still find it difficult to understand, and the power of self-esteem in the journey of transformation. When you get to see more to love, more respect, and more compassionate, everything around you starts to win with a whole new perspective. Their relationship with each other, in any way, with your own failure, all that is to be looked at in a different way. Not as something that defines or limits, but as an opportunity for learning and growth. This is a change of mentality. It's like a key that unlocks the doors which before seemed to be closed from the inside, revealing the possibilities that were invisible to you before. It is also important to understand that this is a journey that requires requires courage. A lot of people think that the conversion is easy, but in fact, it often requires you to leave out of your comfort zone, to face the fears and the doubts growing. And this is the process that create the scenes, the most revealing, in the crisis and the uncertainty in the environment, in the moments of weakness. They are precisely in these times that we need to remember that true strength is not the absence of fear, but the ability to face up to it with great determination. When you acknowledge and agree that the vulnerability is a part of growth, and it all makes for the lightest, most authentic self, you can no longer hide behind his mask and begins to reveal her true self with all the faults, but also with the beauty of the truth. And in so doing, one thing is clear. It is a truth hidden behind the many stories of the success or failure, is that deep down, it all starts in your mind. External events may seem chaotic or beneficial, but the thing that really determines its impact on how you interpret these events. It's your mindset that shapes your reality, and you will decide if you are going to feel defeated or inspired by, if you are going to give up or give up. This realization brings you to a different weight of our choices on a daily basis. You will begin to realize that the biggest impact is that it is the one that comes from within, from a genuine change in their way of thinking and of relating to the world. And so, as I reflect back on all of this, it is clear that this is a real transformation from the inside to the outside, in a constant revelation of its hidden potential. Every step you take in the direction of the mind more in line, it's like a piece of that fits in the construction of a new version of yourself, one that is stronger, more conscious, more truthful. And it is this connection to your essence and become the foundation for everything you want to achieve. Because when you are aligned with who we truly are, everything around you takes on a new meaning. For this reason, it is important that you do not lose sight that this is a process that is continuous on a kind of track that reveals each made a conscious decision. And, at the same time, it is a journey of self-discovery, in which each internal revelation will lead you to understand more about who you really are, as well as the stories that often tell ourselves. This is the true essence of the transformation of a deep connection with the fact that it is born out of the recognition that you are the main character of his own story, with the power to choose a brand new chapter. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens not only with the discovery of what is hidden on outside, but above all, the courage to face the things that are inside of it. It is a journey that requires brutal honesty and a willingness to look in the mirror and admit that many times we would prefer to conceal, whether out of fear, out of shame, or simply because they are more comfortable. And in doing so, we have begun to understand that many of our judgments, our responses, and our daily choices are shaped by the stories of old that we have, many times, without realizing it. In these stories, which have been created in the early childhood or acquired in the course of your life and work, as the bars are invisible to us to hold on to certain patterns and certain behaviors that seem to be automatic, as if it was a schedule that is pre-established. When we go in the program, we realized that it's often not a reflection of who we are of the truth, but it's a version of what is believed to be compatible with what the world expects of us. This is where it comes to the importance of uncovering the truth hidden behind those limiting beliefs, to understand where they come from and how they continue to influence our choices. This finding, in itself, is a great eye-opener because it gives us the ability to rewrite history, to establish a new narrative that is more in tune with who you really are and what we want to achieve for the future of our world. In this retelling, however, it does not happen at one time or another. It is a process of transformation that requires persistence and a genuine desire to break free from the shackles of the past, even though they may still be present in a person's mind and emotions. It is a journey of self-discovery that it often says something unpleasant, such as insecurities, deep, or fear that we'd rather ignore. But it is precisely because of this confrontation we see an opportunity for growth and evolution. Because when you have to accept that these fears are a part of our journey, we begin to realize that they are not permanent obstacles, but rather to signal to the areas that you are still in need of attention, healing, and self-love. And that's when the transformation really starts to gain traction, because it is no longer a distant idea, and it turns out to be a daily practice. Each made a conscious decision to act in a way that is different from the challenge to a belief in limited. Or if you allow yourself to feel what evitavamos, it becomes a step in the direction of a more authentic self. And to the extent that this practice has become routine, and you can see that the impact goes far beyond the small changes on the surface, he gets to permeate the whole of reality, is changing the way you see the world as it relates to the people, and, above all, how to connect with your self-worth. Because of this, the journey of transformation, it is also a day of its release. Free yourself from the shackles of the past, and the stories that you have been accepted as an absolute truth, and create the space for a new narrative of hope, courage, and authenticity. It is an internal movement that reverberates in the outer, having an impact on every decision, every action, and, in the background, each and every dream that you have stored in your heart. Because, at the end of the day, real change is born out of that courage to face your own truth, no matter how challenging it may seem. And, by doing so, you will find that the power to change change your reality that has always been inside of you, just waiting for the time to be turned on by a conscious decision. A desire to reconnect with your essence is pure. I now want to go more in depth on this topic because they understand that the connection between our emotions, our stories, and our decision-making. It is essential to understand the impact of change. Many of the times, we believe that the change is to an external force, an opportunity that comes up out of nothing, or someone who is in the fight for a new one. But in fact, change is born from within, out of the realization that we are the authors of our own story, and that every choice we make is a very important part in the process of evolution. When you start to realize that the emotions you carry important messages, we begin to interpret them in a different way, failing to see them as wedges or show signs of weakness. It is to see them as a tool of self-discovery. Every feeling, every doubt and uncertainty they bring as an opportunity for us to delve into the truth and to start figuring out what we still need to pay attention to. In this perspective, it broadens our vision of what is possible to achieve, because it makes us understand the impact of the transformation is not confined to the sphere of emotional or psychological problems. It extends to every aspect of your life, influencing our decision-making, professional relationships, and our mental health, and even our relationship with time itself. When one is freed from the bondage to internal, we have become more open to the possibility of creating a life aligned with our values and our dreams, the most important, without the constraints imposed by the mind, which still carries his old memories. In the process, we realize that authenticity becomes our best friend because it gives us the courage to do things differently, even in the face of this uncertainty. And at that point, it becomes clear that the real transformation is not a one-off event, but a continuous journey of self-discovery and evolution. Is it a daily practice to reconnect with who we really are and to question our own beliefs and to choose in every moment in a new way? This journey leads us to discover that the most profound impact not change the surface, but in the ability to reinvent oneself, to create a new narrative that is based on our lives, our truth, the most pure. And in so doing, we can begin to understand what the change is. In fact, it's a release of all of the things that keeps us from being fully who we can be. He comments that it makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the real journey of transformation is not just about outward actions or changes in time sensitive. It's about a profound change of our way of thinking and our belief in more deep-seated and on our way to see the world and ourselves. It is at this point that a lot of people go wrong because they believe that it is enough to change any habit or to get a new routine in order to achieve what you want. But the reality is that it all begins within, in the way that we interpret our experiences, our fears, limitations, and in what we'd consider as being possible or impossible. When we first started to look at the inside of honesty, we realized that many of our daily decisions are influenced by an internal narrative that has been built up over the course of the year. In this narrative, one that often carries the limiting beliefs and the stories we hear in childhood, traumatic experiences, or even to a false truths, which we assume to be absolute. In these stories, the invisible shape our actions, our choices, and as a result, the impact of which we may or may not generate in our own lives and in those around us. The processing then goes through a process of discovery. In this narrative hides the truth that many of the times we would prefer to hide it out of fear, shame, or strength. It is at this point that the day-to-day makes it one of the most challenging, because you need to have the courage to face the things that limit us, to question old certainties and make way for a new understanding of who we are, in fact. And in doing so, we begin to realize that our decisions will no longer be automatic and will reflect our essence, our truth, the more pure, in that they are often buried under layers of insecurities and limitations. This is a movement of self-disclosure brings about a freedom that is huge, because it allows us to leave the weight of the expectations of others, and the comparisons are empty. When we understand that our transformation is not dependent on external factors, but rather to an internal change, it all starts to make more sense of it. From then on, every step we take is a genuine expression of what you truly believe in, what you truly want in our lives. It's like, all of a sudden we have to understand the renewed perception of a more sharp-edged impact of these actions can cause, not only in our history, but also the history of the other. And this impact is not something that is far away or unattainable. It is born out of the understanding that our choices have the power to transform not only the journey, but also the roots of the change, behind the scenes of the company. When you begin to take action in line with the core of who we are, inspired by a new way of understanding, we realize that each and every decision, however small it may seem, it has the potential to become the seed of something bigger than themselves. With an attitude that seemed to be insignificant, it now turns out to be a very important part in the construction of a new narrative, a new life. However, this change also requires a degree of patience, as the process of reprogramming of the mental does not happen overnight. It is a solid construction, made from small, everyday victories, the choices that strengthen our brand new story. And at the same time, it's a movement that challenges our comfort zones because it forces us to give up the familiar, the predictable, to embrace the unknown, which is, in truth, our true selves. waiting to be revealed to you. It is at this point that the day-to-day becomes an adventure of self-discovery, in which each step is taken with the intent to become a bridge to the freedom of the church. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because you come to realize that our transformation are born of inner change, leads us to reflect on the power of truth, that we are to have an impact on the world around us. When we begin to align our actions with our deepest values, we find that the impact is not just in what we do, but the vibration emanates. This vibration, in turn, influences of the environment, the people around you, even in the structures of social, and will often seem changeable. It is a chain of influence that begins inside each and every one of us, and if it spreads out, creating a real revolution in the silent tomb that is based on authenticity and the courage to remain faithful to the truth. From this understanding, it becomes clear that the journey of transformation is, in essence, a quest for freedom. Break free from the shackles that keep us from reaching our full potential, and break free from the stories that limit us, from the opinion that in the choke and the expectations for that trap. The more you connect with this inner freedom, the more powerful is our ability to make choices that are aligned with who we really are, without fear of being judged or failing. This freedom, in turn, fostered a mindset of growth opportunities and the actual impact that reverberates in addition to our own lives. And it is in this vibration, the authenticity of which we find a higher power to move forward, even in the face of adversity, because we all know that with each step toward the truth is the seed of transformation, which, over time, blossom into something that goes far beyond our initial expectations. In the process, and the revelations that happen, of course, and often in subtle ways, almost in a whisper of our soul, reminding us of our true purpose. And when you listen to those promptings to pay attention, we can begin to understand that the journey is a combination of courage, self-knowledge, and a genuine desire to make a difference, however small that the difference may seem. And so, as we continue exploring these behind-the-scenes to internal, we are confronted with a truth that seems simple, but in practice, it is the greatest secret to a lasting change. It all starts with a decision, a conscious choice to be true to who you really are, regardless of circumstances and external. This is the foundation that supports all of the change, a bridge that connects the past to the future that we're building into our own hands, our emotions, our dreams, and our actions. And this is the bridge. Once you have built it with authenticity, it's a road of endless possibilities, where every step is a statement of who we are in control of our own story. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because they understand the power of decision-making is not only to see that he leads, but it is also crucial to understand that she is not who you really are on the inside. When we pause to reflect on the choices we make, we see that many of them carry an emotional place, often in the unconscious, which shapes our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. This connection between the decision and the application pool identity is the one that makes all the difference in our journey of transformation. It is not just a matter of changing habits and routines, but to give a new meaning to what we believe to be able to do this, change to the script, which until then had seemed to be written by a fixed destination, and you assume to be the author of your own story. In this process, we have found that each and every decision, no matter how simple it may seem, it bears a profound impact that reverberates through the rest of our lives. A decision to get out of bed early, for example, may seem trivial at first glance, but it is an act of courage against procrastination, and a statement that you are willing to take control of our life in our hour of our time. It is at this time that we reveal our true mentality, if we believe that you can, if you have decided to take action, and if we've stepped out of it with the excuse that we are limited. And in doing so, we set out to build a new narrative, one that is aligned with who you truly want to become. The truth hides behind all of our decisions is that they are a mirror of our deepest beliefs. If you believe that we do not, our choices will reflect that uncertainty. But if you've decided to look beyond the limitation, if we chose to build our growth mindset, everything begins to change. The most fascinating part of this is to realize that this is not the case at one time or another, but rather through a series of small decisions that, in mind, you are going to accumulate an impact by creating real transformation is within. Every step you take, every decision is a very important part in the building of the new version of ourselves, and the more you align with our values and dreams, the more powerful it becomes the bridge that takes us to the future we have in mind. When you go in this reflection, we can begin to understand the impact of our decision-making extends far beyond the present moment. Do they have a knock-on effect which influences our emotions and our daily actions, our relationships, and even our health as well as mental well-being? Choosing a positive attitude towards, for example, is not only a choice of in the moment, but it's a statement that we are willing to seek out the best in every situation, even in the face of adversity. Much of the mental courage to face the hardship is what makes you dream of the one who really does. And it is this realization begins at the time in which we have decided that we deserve a better life, and we're ready to do it. Because of this, the journey of transformation demands more than just a pleasure. It's a mindset of decision-making, constant, continual monitoring of that which we believe to be possible or not. It's a daily choice to reaffirm our inner power and strength, to challenge the inner voices that urge us to limit the search for the self, and and to understand where our actions reflect our deepest beliefs. And in doing so, we are the protagonists of the story, where the possibilities if you expand each and every right decision, every step of the considered authentic. So, when you drill down further this understanding, we can understand that every big change begins with a decision, and that decision, in turn, is like a seed which, when planted in the fertile soil of courage and self-confidence, it blooms into a true transformation, a journey of self-discovery, the revelation of the internal and of the real impact of our lives. Every decision is an opportunity to rewrite the script, to get back to you unlimited, to embrace the things that straightforward, and all of this is only possible when we understand what is the real difference arises from the inside to the outside of the heart of the action, powered by the conscious decisions that affirm who we are and who we want to become. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. If you've come this far, it's because they actually believed in the importance of reflecting on their own paths and the choices that we make. This is a journey of self-discovery, is a continuous and, at times, challenging, but every step is worth it when you get to reconnect with what really matters to you." So, if that kind of content, it made sense to you, take this time to leave a review saying, "I'm with you till the end," or something to show you that this message has touched your heart. And of course, if you think that this is a conversation I brought you some value, like in the video, it helps to strengthen this connection and show that this is the kind of content that makes sense to you. We build this trading for a very light, natural, relaxed, always aiming to help you grow and find out more. If you want to keep this as to the quality of the transformation, and there's a video right here on the side which complements this subject, click there, and still am there, it's because you always have new ideas and stories to share. Thank you for being with me until the end, to devote some time to this moment of reflection. I hope that this content has inspired you to take that next step with more confidence and low weight. Until the next video, and remember, every decision is an opportunity to rewrite your story.